We all remember that infomercial kind of song that Disney Channel made announcing that Nick Jonas had diabetes, and they made it sound like he had months to live. They were like, he is dying, guys. Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. Oh yeah. Fun fact about me, yeah, I'm a singing channel. That was God striking me down. God was like, no, you're not. You're good, okay? There's no easy way to say this. There's no normal way to say this, but Miley Cyrus wrote a memoir when she was 15 years old. That's really all I have to say. What have you experienced at 15 that's worth reading about, even if you're Miley fucking Cyrus? Especially because at the age of 15, you have literally no goddamn perspective. Like, you are never more of a menace to society, less self-aware, and like dramatic and stupid than when you are at 15. Because at least when you're like 12, you're dumb, but you kind of know that you're dumb. When you're 15, you're like, I'm an adult and I'm actually the smartest fucking person that's ever lived. Thank you very much. I've read Miley Cyrus's memoir that she wrote at 15, and I just want to give you the lowdown on it so you don't have to read this fucking monstrosity. No hate on Miley, like hate on her team, like what the fuck, like what the actual fuck. She's already on a TV show, starring in a movie, doing tours, writing her own music. Like, I think we're good. Like, I don't think we need the book, you know what I mean? Like, I think we don't need it. I read Miley Cyrus's book, Miles to Go. Stellar pun. Before we go in bit by bit and I kind of break down what every chapter was about, a couple things need to be said. I don't know who this book is for, because it's partly written like it's for Miley Cyrus's tween fans, which makes sense to me. Who is this book for if not for Miley Cyrus's fans that are 11 and 12? Also, so much of this book is focused on Billy Ray Cyrus and his friends, which I'm like, that's the 12-year-olds don't give a fuck. Like, they don't care about Achy Breaky Heart. They don't care that Billy Ray Cyrus is friends with Carl Perkins, who wrote Blue Suede Shoes, one of Elvis's first songs. Like, the 12-year-olds do not give a fuck. So why are we talking about it? I don't know. They've dumbed down the voice so it sounds like a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old who's written this book, even though, like, it's just because, like, they want to make the reading level congruent with, like, the target market, I guess. So it sounds so dumb, but there were some stellar things that I think we need to talk about. The first part of the book, Mile 1, is dedicated to her middle school year. Also kind of combined with like she's auditioning for Hannah Montana. She just moved back to Nashville from Toronto, where I live, Toronto represent, and she goes to middle school, does competitive cheerleading, and is auditioning for Hannah Montana. But the thing with middle school is she gets bullied. Now, there's a lot of things in this book that I think are bullshit. I don't know what this middle school bully shit, because middle schoolers are so goddamn mean. At least once a week, one of my friends will be like, this funny thing happened to me in middle school, and then we'll describe one of the most horrific cases of bullying I've ever heard. You just kind of realize as you grow up that like girls in middle school specifically are like sociopathic Ted Bundy levels of mean. So like while I am tempted to say that this bullying stuff didn't happen and they're just trying to kind of give like bullied middle schoolers a little bit of solace and being like, oh well, if Hannah Montana was bullied, then I can be bullied too. A fun little thing that they do in this book, her like 7 things lists. One of Miley Cyrus's iconic songs, best song that she's ever written, so fucking good, is 7 Things, about Nick Jonas. This song is literally just on my playlist today. Like, this song is so goddamn fucking good. So now in these chapters, randomly just jerking you out of the plot will be a list of 7 things. So in this one, it's 7 hobbies I obsessed over for 5 seconds. I have so much punch up on that copy. It's such a confusing sentence, but whatever. Number 1, calligraphy. Number 2, beading. Number 3, knitting for 2 seconds. Number 4, scrapbooking. Number 5, reading the life story of Einstein. We never get an explanation on that. Then she talks about how her friend Rachel Berry, it's Leah Michelle, and her like started drifting towards the mean girls. And here's some of the mean things they did to her. These girls are like serial killers in training. You know what I mean? Like, these girls are ready to destroy lives. I put my tray down at lunch and thought I heard a snarl. The next week, I came in wearing a new jean jacket. Yes, that was the thing in 6th grade. I said, I love my outfit today, which Miley, you can't do. Can't do that in 6th grade. They're gonna be mean. One of them sneered, "You do?" and gave me a look that shriveled me up into a puny dried pea on the floor from yesterday's dinner. Then she gets a call back for Disney, and the weird thing that they do in these middle school chapters is they kind of like make it seem like, yes, Miley's being bullied at school and that sucks, but guess what? She's on her way to being a Disney star, and therefore that makes it all worth it. And if I read this as a 12-year-old, I would be so fucking mad. I would be so goddamn angry. Yeah, I'd be like, cool, so that's great for Miley. It's great that she gets to escape her middle school bullying by becoming a Disney Channel star, the rest of us are not so lucky. So she's like, great, I'm going to LA in a couple weeks and I'm auditioning for Hannah in Hannah Montana. Slay. But she still has to go to middle school. The mean girls go from being mean girls to being like, let's see if we can kill Miley. They steal a key to the janitor's closet and lock her in there for hours. But after that happens, great news, she gets to go to LA Tinseltown, baby. So she goes and auditions in like a big casting call for all these girls playing Hannah Montana. Then she gets called back again the next day for the final round of like Hannah Montana auditions. And it's her and 2 other girls. This time there were only 2 other girls in the waiting room. One of them was Taylor Momsen, who had been in Spy Kids 2 and now stars in Gossip Girl. The other one was 16 years old. And I was like, who the fuck is this other one? Like, I wonder if they've said it before. So the final 3 in the callback for Hannah Montana are Miley Cyrus, Taylor Momsen from Gossip Girl, and the girl who plays Trina in Victorious. We could have had Trina, we could have had her as an icon legend as Hannah motherfucking Montana. That actress's comedic portrayal of Trina Vega in Victorious is seminal for me, I mean it. Just so annoying. Such a good, like, she is truly not afraid to play an unlikable character. She did a one-woman show in Victorious about Chicago, where she goes, Chicago, Chicago, there's a city called Lake Michigan, I think I'm really fitting in, the city is my perfect cup of tea, and I know the words to this day, because it's fucking funny. Jenny from Gossip Girl and Trina Vega did not book Hannah Montana. The role went to, of course, Miley Cyrus. But she doesn't know that yet. She goes home, she auditioned, she doesn't know that she's booked it yet. She goes home, gets violently bullied again. Now the mean girls have started sending her notes. They sent me a note threatening me if I showed up in the cafeteria at lunch the next day. I'm not going to give any bullies out their ideas by saying exactly what they threatened. Let's just say it wasn't nice. I hope in that note they were like, if you fucking come to school tomorrow, we will knife you, okay? We're going to stab you in the fucking neck. She's like, I'm getting killed. This is such a child mindset that I'm obsessed with, because you're like, okay, I'm getting threatened for my life. Like, my life is literally being threatened, but I should not tell my parents. Like, they don't need to know. Then she goes to the cafeteria and the girls start cussing her out. I sat there frozen. I didn't know what to do. I looked over and saw one of the girls' mothers sitting at a nearby table, a mother, and she was laughing. When I read this, I was like, oh, I'm high. Like, it makes no fucking sense, because they're in the school cafeteria and their daughters are cussing another girl out, but a mother is there in the cafeteria. Like, there's just a mom's table. The moms are just sitting at a table with the kids. Why is she there? And said, what's your problem? What did I ever do to you? Before they could say or do anything, the principal walked in and interrupted, saying, girls. Basically what happened is when Miley was talking to her friend the night before about how she was afraid she was gonna get her life taken from her in the cafeteria, Billy Ray Cyrus, country music star, overheard and was like, we're gonna tell the principal, which makes sense. I'd always gotten some teasing for having a well-known father. Classmates would say, your dad's a one-hit wonder. You'll never amount to anything, just like him, which is the most intense bullying I've ever heard in my entire life. That's so mean. Hey, Miley, I went home last night and I Googled your father, and guess what? You're never gonna amount to anything, just like him, because he's a one-hit wonder. You're never gonna write anything besides Achy Breaky Heart. How does that feel? Oh, you wanna be a multi-million-dollar country music star? Well, guess what? I think actually in the genetics for you, you can only ever possibly become a one-hit wonder. But then, guess what? All of this traumatic bullying that Miley Cyrus deals with, the fact that she got locked in a janitor's closet for hours, guess what? That's fine, because she books Hannah Montana. So it's actually all okay. It's actually fine. Guess what, kids reading this? If you're getting deeply emotionally bullied at school, just book a Disney TV show and it'll be fine. That was a real narrative that we had a lot in this time, I feel like, and I think it's the Glee impact on society as a whole, where Glee made that song called Loser Like Me, where it was like, hey, you're bullying me? Well, guess what? One day you're gonna be pumping my gas and I'm gonna be famous. Deeply rude and classist. Oh, you pushed me up against the locker? Well, guess what? Later you're gonna be working at McDonald's and I'm gonna go, I'd like fries with that. It's like so mean. Guess what? You're bullying me now? Well, one day you're gonna be poor. So yeah, then they start doing chemistry tests to cast the show around her. What I'm obsessed with is they were casting her dad from other actors, and then her mom was like, you should just cast Billy Ray. And then they have him come in and audition, and just imagine being those actors. And in walks Billy Ray Cyrus, who's like the child who's starring in this show's full father. You're like, well, I'm not gonna book it, so why the fuck am I here? Like, why are we auditioning him? You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. They shoot the pilot, it gets picked up, and they go, hey Miley, hey Cyruses, you need to be in LA in a week. Then there's a typo in my book, and it says, my mom went online and bought the first house she could find in La Canada. But I think she just means her mom just went online and bought the cheapest house she could find in LA. And I love this kind of like grasp to the people. Like, I'm just like you. Like, we just bought the smallest house we could find, like the cheapest house we could find in LA, which I don't think is true. And also, imagine being able to just go online and buy a house in LA, one of the most expensive cities in the world. Would be nice. Then, for some reason, again, with most of these celebrity memoirs, like ordering and form out the window. An order of events and a storytelling structure that makes sense. Never seen her before in my life, because then they just break to talk about all the famous people her dad is friends with. And this is what I was talking about before, where I'm like, who the fuck is this for? Because no 12-year-old reading this book knows who Tony Bennett is. No 12-year-old from this book knows who Leonard Skinner is. You know, like, it just doesn't make any fucking sense. When I was 10 or 11, Ed King, the Leonard Skinner guitarist, how cool is that, showed me the chords for Sweet Home Alabama on my first guitar. I don't know what to say about Tony Bennett, but what I do know is I wasn't a bit afraid of the stage. I just don't really get why we're having a chapter of random name drops of like 70s and 80s rock and country stars. Then we talk about on set, because they're filming the first season of Hannah Montana. So far, she's been so basic with the drama. Like, she's just said nothing of value. Not in a bad way. It's a fucking memoir written by a 15-year-old for 12-year-olds. Like, I'm not expecting anything. But then, randomly in this chapter, she just starts, like, getting into deep Hannah Montana gossip, and I was like, okay. Her best friend, Lily, is played by Emily Osment, and then her other best friend is played by Mitchell Musso. And then she just starts talking about how they didn't get along with Emily Osment. Like, I was shocked. Emily, Mitchell, and I are all close in age. 3 is never a good number. At any given point, somebody's going to feel like a third wheel. That's just the way 3 works. Mitchell and I were sort of insta-best friends. We're both crazy, silly, fun, high energy, joking around with no real filters on what we say or do. Meanwhile, Emily's more reserved. Also, she's beautiful and athletic. Nice save. There was competition between us. Girls struggle with that. Love the narrative. I love that narrative. I had no idea how to go about fixing it. I never got along with girls as well as I did with guys. Miley. And then she would talk about how if one of them flubbed a line on the show, instead of just being like normal and being like, all right, let's take it again, they'd go, ugh, which is such a stressful working environment. But I have to imagine a lot of these Disney Channel shows have shit like that, because like, even though kids are technically like professional actors, like they're still 13-year-olds. Then there's just a break in this book and they just show us a shit ton of photos. Just a photo book. Again, such a weird focus on Billy Ray Cyrus, and I feel like I was like the target age demographic of Hannah Montana probably, and I like only knew Billy Ray was famous because my dad would be like, you know, he was a famous singer, and I'd be like, okay, Dad, fine. 7 stars I'd like to work with. Number 1, Hilary Duff. Number 2, Jennifer Aniston. Number 3, Meryl Streep. Number 4, Shia LaBeouf. Number 5, John Lennon. John Lennon taking hits over here. John Lennon's like, okay, we're gonna rank me under Hilary Duff, and that is such a like a 15-year-old's list. You're like, well, I guess the best artist in the world's probably Hilary Duff. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Hilary, and then, you know, Brenda Song, Zac Efron, and then I guess like Malala. Then she goes on tour with the Cheetah Girls opening for them after they wrap the first season of Hannah Montana to like build buzz. And she's having a great time. That sounds so fucking scary. I never really kind of register the pressures of these Disney Channel stars. Like, it's kind of a miracle she's normal at all. Anyways, so that happens. But then she starts fainting and getting sick. And they take her to the doctor and they find out she has a hole in her heart. And it's made worse by the fact that, like, when she wears a wig on stage, she gets really hot. And that makes her heart act up. The irony is pretty funny. Like, the irony is pretty funny. Out of all of the diseases to get, she has to get one that's made worse by a wig, and she books a role where she has to wear a wig. Then she goes into her thoughts on partying. I like going to small parties and over to friends' houses, like 10 people hanging out, maybe going for a swim. I'm always careful because of my heart. I guess my idea of a good party is someone getting their face smashed in a cake. Not getting smashed. I don't drink, and I would never smoke. Then, oh baby, there's a focus now on her relationship with diabetes survivor Nick Jonas. We all remember that infomercial kind of song that Disney Channel made announcing that Nick Jonas had diabetes, and they made it sound like he had months to live.
I released the news that I have diabetes last year.
When Nick was diagnosed with diabetes, it shook us a little bit.
They were like, he is dying, guys. In this book, she calls Nick Jonas Prince Charming to protect his identity. God knows why. We all know who it is. She starts talking about how she started dating Nick. She met him in New York, and they started texting, and they started connecting over music and the fact that they were both hardcore Christians. She said that they took a break, which is when she wrote GNO, Girls Night Out. Again, fucking bop. But then they get back together at the Easter egg roll at the White House, because she sees him and she's like, oh, God, I gotta get back together with him. This is is what he looked like at the time, which is pretty fucking funny. I know I've had some pretty remarkable moments in my life so far, but I'll never forget that day. Singing at the White House, introducing Mammy to Laura Bush, and falling in love all over again. So they just like reconnect at the White House Easter egg roll. But she does have a list called 7 things I want to change about the world. Number 1, end world hunger. I think that's pretty standard. Happy for you. Number 2, homeless people without the comfort of a snuggly bed and a family to go home to. That's true. It's just seems like you're dunking on them a bit. Number 3, mean online message boards. Number 4, school bullies. Great. Number 5, not everyone having clean water. I feel like that should be a little bit higher than the mean message boards. Number 6, nasty hormone-infested, chemical-laden, inorganic foods. Number 7, bring peace. She's filming the Hannah Montana movie, and she talked about how she was going method. She was like, during the TV series, I finally decided to go method with Hannah Montana. And I really started to feel like she was a real person. And I was like, oh my God. Don't method act for Hannah Montana. Like, you're fine. She talks about her purity ring. When I got old enough and there were boys in the picture, I asked if it was time for me to get my own ring. My mom gave it to me and it has a circle on it to represent the circle of marriage. There's a little diamond in the center of the circle for me. And when I get married, there will be another diamond added. But until then, it's just me and it feels right. The press might make fun of some people for wearing purity rings, but don't pay attention to that. They can think what they want. I have my morals. This purity ring shit is so weird. It's like weird to be like, I'm not fucking. That's right. This ring means I'm not gonna fuck. If you want to be celibate, like, be celibate. She says that she wrote 7 things I hate about you when her and Nick Jonas finally broke up. She said, I wanted to punish him, to get back at him for hurting me. If you take one fucking thing from this video, go listen to that song. It fucking slaps. It goes so goddamn hard. It's so fucking good. Thank you so much for watching. All of my links will be in the description below, my Instagram, all that fun stuff. If you can think of another weird cursed memoir you want me to read and review so you don't have to, let me know in the comments. I've been having a fucking blast doing these videos. Other than that, take care of yourself and listen to 7 Things by Miley Cyrus.